Awesome. Thank you so much. My name is Samantha Martinez, and I work on the campus recruiting team here at CME Group. We're so excited to speak to all of you today about CME, some opportunities we have, but more importantly, get insight from some women who are kind of talking the talk and walking the walk, in that they work at CME here in our technical divisions, all in different areas. And they are also part of our Women in Tech employee resource group as well. So CME Group has been around in one form or another for over 100 years. We started out in the 19th century, actually, if you can believe it, as two distinct entities, the Chicago Board of Trade and Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And back in the day, it was a true and actual live trading floor. People would come and bring, their corn and their pigs and their chickens and actually trade on the floor. We have come a long way since then. Nowadays, it all happens, digitally. And really, where the world comes to manage risk. We are one of the industry leading derivatives exchanges, and we're kind of like the biggest, financial services company you've never heard of kind of vibes, in that what our work does is just hugely impactful on the global economy to the tune of, trillions of dollars. But most people have never heard of us. And so people think, exchanges, they think stock exchange, and, that is a different type of exchange. And we are another one. We're, futures and derivatives. The tech side of our business is so crucial to keeping the, finance and business side of things running. And so we really are a fintech company with, constantly evolving products, services, and, ideas happening on the horizon. So that's a little bit about us. You can see we have been ranked as a great place to work in IT. So just even though we come from, our humble trading floor backgrounds, we're a lot more with the times now. We are based in Chicago for our headquarters, but we are a global company. So we have had offices all over the world. So I'll go ahead and introduce our panelists very quickly. We have Liz Cartwright, who is the Director of Project Management, Infrastructure, and Operations, TWINKLE VASHI, who is one of our lead software engineers, and ALLYSON ZOLLER, who is the Senior Director of Technical Controls and Compliance. And we are so thankful to them for being on today. If you each want to go one by one in order of your pictures and just introduce yourselves, maybe where you went to school, and, a little tidbit about yourself.
Sure. My name is TWINKLE VASHI. I work as a lead software engineer at CME Group. My educational background, I am an engineer with a degree in computer engineering. And I've always been interested in, engineering side of things. Personally, in my free time, I enjoy going bike riding with my kids.
I'm ALLYSON ZOLLER. I'm the Senior Director, as Samantha had mentioned, for Tech Controls and Compliance. I've been at CME for 5.5 years at this exchange, but I also worked at another exchange, but I've been in financial services pretty much my whole career. So I've been in the highly regulated world of corporate America. Been focusing mainly on technology, controls, and compliance. I've done some audit work of technology, and then I originally started out as a programmer in technology. I have an undergrad from Illinois State University, born and bred in the northwest suburbs of Chicago. I have a master's degree, an MBA from Roosevelt University with an emphasis in information systems. What else? Some fun facts about me. I am an endurance athlete, and I've done multiple Ironman triathlons, a 50-mile race, and I'm currently working on the World Marathon Majors. So my last one is coming up in Tokyo in March.
Impressive, Allison. Meanwhile, I celebrate anytime I do a 5K. A little bit about me. I am not originally from the Midwest. I'm actually from the Sunshine State, which is not so sunny right now. They're being hit with a hurricane, but I'm originally from Florida, moved up to Chicago a little over a year ago, and I did my undergrad at the University of South Florida, go Bulls. And I love campus recruiting because it, really allows them a chance to connect with students and guide them and offer them the opportunity to gain these internships and these real world experiences. My first professional job after I graduated was as a result of an internship I did in college. And so it very much feels full circle for me to now kind of give that to other people. Okay, Liz, I think I heard you.
Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Hi. Liz Cartwright. I went to Loyola University of Chicago quite some time ago. I've been working at the Chicago Mercantile Exchange CME group this is going on my 14th year. I know we'll get into some of these topics later, but I did start on the business side of CME group and then quickly navigated to technology, where I've had a variety of roles as a project manager for our tech teams, but now lead a team globally in both Chicago, New York, Belfast, and London. So thanks for having me.
Perfect. Awesome. And I'm glad we were able to hear you. Yay. Okay, so we're going to kick things right off here with our questions. These are the questions that we have for our panel today. And then don't worry, everybody, at the end, we will have time for your questions as well. But we're kind of do this in order. If you wanted to go first, Liz, when did you first get interested in tech? Where did that passion start for you? And then Twinkle and Allison, you can follow up with your answers.
Yeah, for me, I went to Loyola and I graduated with a degree in business. So tech was not my focus when I first started. And it wasn't until I really started early in my career working in a variety of roles, but mostly on the business side of firms. So I worked for what now would be AT&T Wireless and other companies like that. And I was kind of bored on the business side. It was cool to talk to customers and, manage their expectations. But when I came to CME Group on the business side, I did a little interacting and dabbling on the tech side of things, of how things actually worked here, how our customers, came to us to manage their risk, and how our firm made money. So I very quickly, when I started in 2008, started to network and make some connection points with colleagues in the technology division. And then an opportunity opened for me to move down to project management in tech. And so here I sit 14 years later, happy as can be, because it's my sweet spot. It's what I like. It's fast paced, it's moving, and it's always changing and evolving.
Okay. So I got an undergrad in sports medicine. So my goal was to go to physician assistant school and become a surgeon's assistant. I had my internship at a hospital in northwest suburbs of Chicago at the end of my schooling, and I realized that working in a hospital is not something I'm interested in doing. So as part of that, I graduated, and when I graduated, fortunately, it was during the big tech boom. Big, startups were happening, couldn't get enough technology folks. So I wound up just rolling naturally into technology, and started out as a programmer from a referral from one of my friends. So that's how I started out in tech. Then gradually, after working as a programmer for about 4.5 years, I realized I'm a very social person. I do like to interact a lot. I was getting a little bit bored just, doing coding all day, all the time. So I just naturally gradually moved into IT audit, which is where you are having conversations with the technology folks and asking them questions on how they're managing technology, how are they addressing risk. So that we're not having any operational risks, any technical risks, or any security type risks in our environment. And I enjoyed doing that. And I have continued doing that ever since. I've stayed in financial services. It's highly regulated. That's when I gradually moved into the compliance side. So I just make sure for CME that from a regulatory perspective globally, because we are a global organization, that we're in compliance with local state, country, regional regulations as it pertains to technology. And a lot of our regulatory obligations at CME stem towards security. So my main focus in compliance is security. And as Liz has said, technology is fast paced. It's changing, you know, at the moment. So as you can imagine, it's just, you know, security is top of mind all the time. So, and I'm here to help the company with that.
That's thank you, Allison. That's awesome. For me, my first interest was also not in technology. To be honest, I was more focused or geared towards going into medical side of things. But I soon realized that I am, you know, as Allison mentioned, you know, she did not want to work at the hospital, and I also had the same fear or a feeling that, you know, as soon as I step into a hospital, it's not my thing. Pretty soon, when I was in high school, we got a computer at home, and as you know, as I like to call myself Curious George, I was always fascinated by, you know, how things work the way they are. And I was always fascinated to see, you know, how a computer, you know, works. It comes up, starts up, you know, loads everything, comes back up. Although behind the scenes, it's all like binary language, right? So when the computer came, by default, it was, you know, set up with the Windows operating system. And, you know, as curious as I was always, you know, fond of using Linux side of things at that point in time. Um, I just decided and, you know, went to you know, reset up my computer, and I made it work with the dual operating system. So it would start up and it would give you a choice of, you know, hey, you want to use Windows or you want to use Linux side of things. And I was so proud of myself that I did it myself. And then that's the day I decided, okay, this is my thing and I'm going to pursue it. So that's why I'm here.
That is awesome. And I kind of love the common thread there of, you know, it wasn't what anybody originally thought they would end up in, but it is very much, you know, where you're supposed to be now. And, you know, the different stages of life too, where you find that interest. I think that's, you know, great. Kind of goes to show, you know, there's no one right path or one right time to get into this space. But definitely for those of you on the line who are, you know, studying the field, obviously you are on the right track, but it's not, you know, the only path. There's multiple paths, which is nice. And then some of you kind of already answered, you know, how did you come to join CME and how did you grow in your role since joining? I know Liz, you sort of answered that already. So if you want to kick it back to Twinkle, if you want to say, you know, how did you come to join CME and how have you grown in your role since joining?
Yeah, sure. That's an interesting journey for me because I was never into, you know, fintech side of world. My background was always technology. However, you know, the business side of area was all the healthcare side of things. So I was always, you know, curious about learning fintech side of the world. And I was on a break, I think with my daughters when my daughter was born. And after that, I was looking for opportunities, and I came across a consulting opportunity at CME Group as a software engineer. And then I had two choices. You know, I had one other offer on my plate, and I'm glad I chose to, you know, join CME. And as I mentioned, I joined CME Group as a consultant. However, I have, as a, you know, consultant software engineer, and I have grown to be a lead software engineer today. It was a fascinating journey. I learned a lot, collaborating with my teammates, and you know, designing various technological solutions that helped CME grow its business overall.
I'll go next. So I just before I joined CME 5.5 years ago, I worked at another exchange down the road from CME. And one of the recruiters actually reached out to me from CME and had a conversation. I was very familiar with CME. I actually knew some people that already worked at CME, so I was very familiar with the company culture, the various teams, the products, the services. So I knew a lot about the company. I knew people within the company. So I knew it was a really great company to join. And in having conversations with the role that I would be moving into, it was a greater span of control than I had at the other company. So it was a great opportunity to grow my professional knowledge, expand my span of control. We truly are a global company. So I'm like Liz, able to manage teams in New York, Belfast, Northern Ireland, and Bangalore. So to me, I really was excited about being able to work with various people across the globe in order to support our company. So that's how I joined CME, and I've been here ever since. And it was, like Twinkle said, just a really good choice, because where we were 5.5 years ago and where we are now from a technical perspective, it's just, we've moved so quickly and so fast, and we're just moving so much further from a transformational perspective. So it's a really amazing opportunity that we're having now and in the foreseeable future at CME.
Yeah, and just from my perspective, I mean, I actually joined CME by accident. I had no idea what we did. Sometimes I still question myself if I'm 100% clear on how we make a lot of money, but we do. I literally joined by accident because I was just in a store and there was a magazine and they were just named as one of the top companies that were hiring. So, I just took a chance. I was very nervous, didn't have a clue, and just came in and just between, mentoring and meeting people and making connections in areas that I was comfortable with, I've been able to take my role of just one individual contributor on the business side and expand it to where I'm managing a global team in technology and in a place that makes me happy and keeps me satisfied. So for me, my message has always been like, what you don't know is you don't know, but just take those chances and advocate for yourself. And you usually end up in the right place when those kind of things happen.
That is awesome to hear. I love that. Like, I accidentally ended up here. But it's true, sometimes it really is just like serendipity, and it obviously worked out for all three of you, and we're glad that you're here. So we'll move on to the next question, which is, tell us about your involvement with WIT, which stands for Women in Tech. It's one of our employee resource groups at CME. And for those of you on the line who aren't familiar with employee resource groups, they're kind of like, in school when you have clubs and there's, like the Black Student Union or things like that. It's similar to that, but within a company. So we have Women in Tech is one of them. We have Launch, which is another one for young professionals just getting started at CME. We have HOLA, which is the Hispanic and Latino one. There's, I think, 12 different ERGs at this point, if not more, coming on the horizon. So just a little peek into company culture here. But if either one of you want to get started with how you got started with WIT and some of the stuff you've done with them.
Yeah, I can probably start out because I am pretty certain I was one of the first WIT members. There was somebody who worked in our software engineering team who she's no longer with the company, but Women in Technology was her whole idea for an ENG or ERG. She started it very grassroots with a very small number of women in the aim of, with the goal of getting women recognized in technology for their accomplishments, for empowering women for their roles, and to make those next steps, and to really showcasing, like, how can we showcase all of the great engineers and developers that we have within technology, because at the time, it's growing over many, many years, obviously, but at the time there were very few women in technology serving in those roles. And for those that were there and extremely intelligent and educated and smart and willing and all of those great things, sometimes it was a challenge to get noticed. And that was from, in my opinion, it was kind of maybe like how the world was, where you just did, so women just sort of didn't actively get recognized. So there was that. And then there was also about women just advocating more for themselves. So Diana pulled me in as somebody who had been at the company for a while and was like, will you help me, in this effort? So over those few years, we then formalized with human resources into a formal E&G that's sponsored by the program. And I served as the president of Women in Technology for, I think, 3 years. And then Allison here, who's on the call with us today, has taken over and really taken WIT to that next level for our members and expanded it not just for women in tech who are formerly in the tech division, but women outside of our division who work with technology, which we have, quite a bit, on the business side, as well as in our finance and HR divisions as well. So Allison, I don't know if you want to add to that. It's like a natural transition.
Yeah, so I've been the president of Women in Tech for, I think this is going on my 3rd year. As Liz had mentioned, I take it over from her. And she did a fabulous job with really setting up the stage for a successful employee resource group. So as the president, I work with Liz, I work with Twinkle, I work with other folks that volunteer to be on the board and on the committee, and we do amazing networking events. We have a partnership right now with Google. So we've been having a couple of networking events with other companies like Google, where we get together, have drinks and food, and get to know each other. We do internal networking events. We do training and education of not only just our members, but we also do a 1-day full company technology focused day of learning, where we host this, and we had over I think 2,000 people attend this event globally. So we do a lot of stuff just not only for the women in technology, but we have a lot of allies that are members of WIT as well. Like Liz has said, it's really important to have those allies and to promote all the great work that women in technology do, in addition to some of the other allies outside of technology that are also members on our board and on the committee. We also have a program where we do coaching. We have a coaching circle program. So we have a collective group of women, both in technology and just women outside of technology. They get together monthly and talk about topics that are of interest to women in tech or just women in general, and talk through those. And where we have a coaching circle, we have like a mentor and some coachees involved in those conversations. So we have really grown as a networking group, and we are just a wonderful group that continue to support each other and celebrate our successes too.
Yeah, along the same lines, like Liz and Allison has mentioned, the amazing things that WIT as an ERG, does at CME. Personally, for me, coming from a meeting room or a background where, only being a woman in the room along with, other colleagues, it was difficult experience at certain times when you had to pull through your technology solution or the design that you were looking to get implemented. I pulled through all that, and then WIT as an ERG came along, and then I decided that I would like to help out other women like me who would be going through the similar situation and help them grow so that they don't have to go through the similar things in their, career. That was the other reason besides, the amazing things that we do at as a WIT ERG at CME. That was one of my personal reason I got involved with WIT. And today I serve as I started off by, just helping out and volunteering and, being a committee member. To today I serve as a board member and work closely with Allison.
No, that is so awesome to hear. And I love the, passing of the baton between Liz and Allison and the continued growth of the group. I'm sure, there'll only be more and more to come for the future years. And Allison, that's an amazing stat too about the number of people that participated in the Day of Learning, 2,000 globally. For those of you on the line, we as a company are about 4,000, so that's literally almost about half the company participating in this event. So that's majorly impressive. I know you also have done things. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say one thing about that event, which is, maybe kind of feeds into our discussion here about stepping up, is when we started this event back in 2018, our IT management team said, yeah, sure, go ahead and just try it, and was very worried about our ability to actually execute against those objectives and goals. And we, with a very small number of people, got together and did a very grassroots effort. And now it's so great to see that, advocating for ourselves and just trying something new, even though we weren't really sure, without a whole lot of support, how that really paid off to an event that, as Allison described, is phenomenal, with more than half of the company essentially attending a session. And then everybody who was, signed up for participating was all from CME employees. So it was really, really great.
That's even, the fact that it was only in 4 years that you achieved that growth is even more impressive. I know you all do things with university and student outreach as well, with the Grace Hopper Conference. Some of you on the line may have attended that as well. We've had a presence there with members from WIT. So just incredible work happening through that ERG, which we love to see. So we'll kind of segue into each of you individually and your roles. This is your chance to kind of explain a little bit more, what does your title mean and what exactly do you do? So what are you currently working on with your team?
I can go first. So coming from an trade execution side of, CME, aspect. Currently, me and my team are working on a technology solution that is going to benefit the other side of the CME world, called or referred to as, clearing side of things. And we do, a lot of interesting design sessions, solve many challenging problems that we come through every day while we are building towards this engineering solution, which is going to help, like I said, our CME clearing side of world. Besides like day-to-day, solving many challenges and building this engineering solution, me as a lead software engineer, I also mentor my other colleagues, through this process, and then help them learn and grow.
I guess I'll go next. What am I currently working on? I'm working on a lot of stuff, a lot. But I guess just to name a few things, as I mentioned earlier, CME has a significant partnership with Google. And, I think Liz can speak to this as well. We're all waist deep in implementation on the Google Cloud platform. So my team is currently working on making sure that the controls that we originally had on-premise that CME was managing are also implemented in the Google Cloud platform. So we're doing our testing of that from a compliance perspective. So that is a huge initiative that we're working on right now, that we'll continue to work on, indefinitely, as long as we're working in Google. Another thing that we work on, that we typically work on annually, is we create what are called SOC reports, SOC 1 and SOC 2 reports. These reports are generated annually. We work with an external accounting firm to generate these reports, but these reports go to our customers who do business with us and rely on us for various purposes, whether they're relying us as a trading firm, a clearing firm, some of our trading tools. They may reside currently in our data center, and we do a colo report, so they can confirm that our technology controls around security and availability are good. So That's just a couple of things that we're currently working on. We do a lot of other work. It would take hours for me to go through all that. So I'll turn it over to Liz to talk about what she's working on.
Yeah, so my team, we do a whole bunch of different things. We support projects related to like the infrastructure that supports electronic trading. But, you know, as everybody's heard here, you know, our partnership with Google is a very important initiative that we are working on. So most of my team spends 90% of their day working with our platform engineering teams and our development groups and engineering and execution teams to both bring up the platform to support the migration of on-premises services from our data centers to Google Cloud, and also working with the applications to think about how we're going to promote from environment to environment and what that adoption path looks like. So you know, that's, you know, the really exciting work that we're doing. I mean, we do need to keep the infrastructure going because, you know, the money that we're making today at this moment isn't, you know, on our migration to the cloud. It's really our infrastructure that we have and the trading that we do today. So we focus on components to keep that infrastructure up and running. We also focus on building our office locations out. And then over the last maybe like 3 or 4 years, CME Group acquired a company called Next. And within Next was about 7 different businesses. So we needed to look at those businesses from a data center component capability, from an application standpoint, and figure out how we needed to consolidate because we couldn't run those all independently. So my team was responsible for the integration and the execution against those deliverables. But we're super excited about the move to Google and the cloud and kind of what that means for the firm looking forward into the future.
That is the perfect segue into the next question, which is, you know, future facing. What is something that you're excited about in tech at CME Group? So Liz, you kind of touched on the Google partnership already. If you want to maybe go a little bit into the context of that and, you know, how, you know, what it means for our exchange and
yeah, of course. So, yeah, you know, I mean, obviously for the industry as a whole, right? Going to the cloud, you know, we're going to get speed, you know, faster speed to market. Our, you know, the faster our customers can get information and do things, the faster that they have new capabilities and add-ons and updates to their services that we provide, our products and services, the more money they make, and the more money they make, the more money CME makes, and then everybody is super hunky-dory happy about it. What I'm most excited about that is great because I need the company to make money, but I'm more excited about the cultural transformation that moving to a model like that implies. You know, as we started talking, you know, CME's been around for a bazillion years, and sometimes the culture is a little bit behind the technology. So it's nice to see us working in a more agile fashion with people on teams who are empowered to make decisions and do work. And then be able to understand what those corporate goals are and execute against them and with the best practices that they have in mind, either from their schooling or from their experience here. So super stoked about the move, but more excited about the cultural transformation that is going to take place as a part of that.
And I'll just add on to that, at least from a controls and compliance perspective, I'm also really excited about this Google transformation. As Liz has mentioned, we're working in more agile environments, more fast paced. So with that, you know, as myself, who does reviews of technology and the controls of that technology, I'm now learning a new type of technology, new services that are offered by Google, new technologies that we're going to be leveraging to automate some of our implementations to speed up changes in our production environment. So as just being in the compliance world, I'm now needing to learn a new way of how technology is going to be managing our environment in the near future and in the future. In addition, another thing that I'm always excited about is any new regulations that come out or any potential new regulations that come out. So trying to interpret, you know, ambiguous regulation is always a fun thing to do. And being that we're systemically important and highly regulated financial institution, we do have to deal with, you know, regulations coming out not just from the US, but globally. So those are always popping up.
Yeah, and along the same lines, as Liz has mentioned, the cultural transformation. Coming from an application development team, I can totally relate to that excitement, and I'm looking forward to, moving towards that fast-paced environment where, we build a solution and then we can put into production like right away and see it through. I'm really excited about learning CME offering all the learning opportunities here to all the employees in this partnership with Google. As we all know, cloud technology is the next, generation of technology that we are all going to be, looking at. The future is cloud. So I'm really excited about learning and moving the applications that we have seen in our own infrastructure world and getting them into cloud. It's just going to be amazing. So I'm excited for this journey and seeing it through for the next coming years.
That is awesome. Lots to be excited about. Lots of, positive change on the horizon here at CME Group. And so definitely a good time to join, which leads you right into my next topic. We'll give these ladies a break from the talking for a second, and I'll go ahead and chat with you all about some of our opportunities that we have here at CME Group. So depending on when you graduate, there are a couple of different options for you. The first being our software engineering summer internship program. We take about 40 tech interns each summer, typically out of our Chicago office, which we all work from on a hybrid schedule, meaning you come into the office about 2 to 3 days per week, and then the other days you work remotely. They are full-time internships and they are paid, so you don't have to worry about being a starving intern. And they are all different as far as what you're working on. So it's just working on selected team projects. What that means is once we have our list of interns, confirmed, good to go, we send out a list of potential projects to everybody. The way we get these projects is we approach, the tech business and we say, hey, what do you need some help on? Or what are you working on? Or what is something that you've been wanting to get done, but you just haven't had the capability for because you just didn't have enough people. And they say, this would be a great project. We could use some help with this. And they put a list together. It tells you, what technologies are used, the objectives, the skills you'll gain. And we put it all together in one big PDF and send it out to everybody. And people rank their top choices. And we match up one of your top choices for the summer. So that way you're not just placed in some random internship, but rather you have some say in what you will be working on over the summer. And you know that the thing that you're working on will have a real business impact. I feel like that's so indicative of culture too here at CME Group, is we want you to be interested and invested in the stuff that you're working on. And that starts all the way from, as an intern, as you grow in your career here at CME Group. It's an internship program, not just an internship. So in addition to, your day-to-day work, there is a whole summer of programming going on with different lunch and learns, educational workshops happening every week to teach you about the other areas of business outside of tech. One example of the way we do that is we do a trading competition where you get to, pretend that you are somebody using our platforms to do trades, and whoever has the most money at the end of the week, they get a prize. There's also, coming back to the tech side of things, there's an overnight, coding challenge that happens where you're placed into teams with your fellow interns, and you have, these problems that you're trying to solve, and there's a ceremony at the end for everybody to announce the winners. As there's a bunch of social events happening throughout the summer too. Last year, you can see the picture at the bottom there, we did a boat cruise kickoff, which was a nice way to start the summer and get you introduced to all of your fellow interns. We've done the service day, Cubs game, and so much more. The cool thing too with the program is, so I say there's about 40 tech interns, but in total there's over 100 interns across the business. So you're learning and networking with peers, not just in tech, but from all areas of the business and from all over the country. So never too early to get started with networking, and this, opportunity definitely, allows for that. So we're going to watch a quick video from last year's interns about the program, and then we'll move on to talking about the next opportunity.
Hello everyone. Today is my first day at the CME group as a summer intern. I'm really excited to meet the team and get to work this summer.
I think it's just interesting that even like in the finance industry, I guess it's always moving forward.
And I've always liked, this pipeline of, okay, build this thing, see the result, be able to test, oh, why doesn't it work? And then at the end of the day, have something that people find works well. And it's really been nice to have that same opportunity here.
What's been really exciting about the internship and about technology in general is that I'm always learning new things, and it's been really cool to see what I'm going to learn next.
So that's just a little video that we put together from last summer's interns. A lovely bunch. Hopefully we will be seeing some of them back this summer, but we'd also love to see some of your lovely faces here this summer. Our Chicago office, I think I mentioned, it is our headquarters, so it really is quite a lovely office. And these are paid internships, like I mentioned, so it's meant to be able to cover, cost of living in Chicago for a summer. Interns last year, they were able to, make it work. So we're definitely not trying to leave you broke and starving for the summer. We want you to enjoy your time here. So the other opportunity is if you are going to be graduating between December 2022 to June 2023. This is our software engineer rotational development program, and it's about an 18-ish month program where you gain experience working with several different teams, different projects, and different technologies across the business. The beauty of it is, usually when you first start out, you get placed in a role and that's what it is. And if you want to learn something else, you either have to hope that there's an opening somewhere inside or potentially apply to a new job. And then, within your first 18 months, you've hopped jobs 3 times already. First of all, nobody wants to do that because the benefit forms are just annoying to fill out that many times. But second of all, it's just nice to have the stability and a place to grow. And so CME definitely allows for that. Each internship here, you do have input into what you're doing, similar to the internship program, based on what you're interested in and where your experience lies. And it's just a really great opportunity for you to try out different areas of the business, so that way at the end of the program, when you graduate and you move on to that level 2 role, you know the best fit for you based on what you experienced in that rotational program. Similar to what I said with the internship, it's not just an internship, it's a program. This isn't just an SE1 job, it's a program. And so you do have a program manager who stays with you throughout the entire 18-month duration. She does check-ins with you one-on-one to see how things are going and get your input on what you want your next rotation to be. There's also social events for each cohort, professional development and knowledge sharing sessions where you learn across about the other areas of the business. Each cohort is about 15 to 20 people, so it's nice because you're starting with other, entry-level peers as well. And we've seen a good success rate of people coming in as interns and then moving on to the rotational development program and then being promoted to an SE2. That internship piece, it's not just a summer activity, it's a potential first step to a career path here at CME Group. So just something to keep in mind. All CME employees currently work on that hybrid system that I mentioned earlier, coming into the office 2 to 3 times a week. And this program as well is going to be based out of Chicago. You can see a lovely view of the Chicago River right there in that picture. It's a little colder than it looks today, but that's just fall coming in a hurry, on a breeze, quite honestly. So let me go ahead. So if you are interested in either of these opportunities, go ahead and scan that QR code on your screen, and that will take you to an information collection form where you can upload your resume, and then we will, put your application in for the appropriate role. And you should be expecting to hear from us within the next couple of days on next steps. It's a 3-step process for either role. Coding tests are part of each step, and those happen in Java. So if you haven't, used Java in a minute, definitely brush up on that. It's not the only language that we use here, as I'm sure these ladies can attest to, but it is something that is going to be really important to us in the future and is important now. And so that is why the tests are offered in Java. Looks like we already have some questions rolling in. So someone asked, can I apply for the internship for the summer between my undergrad and grad school? That's a good question. So if it's one of those, 4+1 programs where it's all within the same school, yes, so undergrad and master students are eligible for the internship program. However, if it's one of those where you're switching schools, you do have to be a student, is I guess what I'm trying to say, to be an intern. You can't be a grad or like a recent grad. You can be in a graduate program though. Sorry if that was confusing. Somebody asked for which year in college do these internships mostly apply to? We're open to any year in college. The only caveat being, if you are a current senior and you're graduating before next summer, then you would go for the rotational program. But for the internship, we don't have a restriction. It really is just if you can pass the coding challenge as a freshman, more power to you, year in. Somebody asked about housing if they move to Chicago for the internship. No, we don't have like a specific separate housing. Like we don't bucket your money for you. So we're not, your mom and dad, where we say like, here, use this portion of your salary for housing. We pay you, your hourly rate, and it's paid at a rate to be able to accommodate cost of living in Chicago for the summer. And then one more question about the internship. What does the day-to-day with software engineer intern look like? Are there initial training weeks, or is it more training as you work? So y'all don't hate me for this answer, but the true answer is that there is no, one day-to-day for every intern. Like I mentioned, last year alone, there were over 40 different projects that people were working on. So each person is going to have a different project and a different day-to-day and a different onboarding experience depending on what their team is doing and what their experience level is.
I would like to add something on that. So no interns here at CME Group are left on their own. And, I can attest to that. I have mentored so many interns so far on my team, and everybody had amazing experience. So they all have mentorship provided by fellow colleagues and help them do their job.
That is perfect. So there you go. Love to hear that firsthand account. And yes, I've definitely heard that echoed from our former interns who now work here full time, or in the interns that I spoke with last summer, is that they do feel very supported by their teams, very open to being curious and asking questions, and gaining as much knowledge as they can from the summer. So we're going to go ahead and switch gears a little bit into some of the questions for the panelists. We did get some ahead of time, and then there is one in the chat. Let's start with the chat one first, because I really like it. It says, this question is for every panelist. What is the greatest challenge you faced in your role, and how did you overcome it?
From my perspective, when I went from being the person who was doing the work to a person who was responsible for leading and directing teams that did the work, that for me was the hardest thing, which seems like it'd be relatively easy just to sort of switch roles and kind of like be the boss or whatever. But it proved to be challenging because I struggled to figure out what value I was providing to the firm. So it took me a long time, well, not a long time, but it took me a little bit of like checking my ego a little bit to say, hey, you don't actually have to do the actual work or tell people how to particularly do the work. It was more about mentoring and guiding people to move forward in their career. But for me, that transition from doer to manager was one of the most difficult things I had to do.
I'll just mention that as you could probably imagine, and probably what all of you have gone through, just having to navigate during the pandemic and working remotely. I would say that was probably one of my biggest challenges. And I think a lot of people have those challenges, having to do work remotely in an environment where everybody was used to getting together in a room and having discussions. Thankfully, CME had disaster recovery days where everybody would work from home, so we could test out the capacity of our systems remotely. So we were very prepared. for something that we hoped never would happen, like a pandemic. But having to work remotely, for over 2 years was, I would say, probably the biggest challenge. But we got through it. We have a lot of tools and technology that allow us to work remotely. Thankfully, we had those up and running. So we were able to navigate it, but it was probably pretty challenging for some people that actually like to, meet with people in person and have discussions like myself.
Yeah, along the same line, as Allison mentioned, we were all working remotely, and it was a critical time for CME the very first year, because as Liz had mentioned earlier, that CME Group acquired a larger organization called Next, and we had to work on an integration project. It was very fast-paced, fast-moving, and then with the pandemic, everybody being remote, the challenging thing was to collaborate with your team, and we were all learning how to navigate through all those challenges virtually, sitting at your home as opposed to doing like whiteboarding sessions as we used to do in the office. So yeah, but slowly, we all got through that. And as we became more familiar with, virtual technologies and, using those tools and how to collaborate more, being considerate of each other's, personal times and stuff, we got through those challenges. But for me, that was the difficult challenge for sure.
Yeah, and I would add on to it, like, I'm just sort of thinking here, like, of specific events that happened to me. And I think for me, just generally throughout my career, whether it's been at CME or somewhere else, it's really just when you start anything, it's typically, you know what you know, and you're good at it, but you're in this new environment, and that institutional knowledge about how things work in an environment can seemingly be overwhelming, and navigating through that to learn can seem overwhelming. And, sometimes you ask yourself, like, am I the right person for this job? I'm not really sure I can do it. But to me, it was like navigating through that and just always reminding myself that I just need like a month and all this works out. And then I'm just going to be clicking and doing my thing like I normally do, because I know I have confidence in my ability to execute.
That is awesome perspective there, Liz, especially, the confidence in yourself. I feel like it's such a good kind of piece of advice too. Imposter syndrome is such a real thing. And so just knowing that, you are capable and it's just a learning curve, I think is a good reminder to all of us. Somebody asked a quick question about the internship and, the development workshops that we do. Yes, there are development workshops that happen during the internship, some of them educational about, different areas of the business to grow and advance you in that way. We also do, towards the end of the summer, like a recruiting workshop to get you ready to be out in the job market again and, refresh your resume and LinkedIn and stuff like that, and get advice from a recruiter's perspective on those things, just as some examples. One of the questions that was written in that I think, is really one that I would love to hear the answer to is, if you could each go back in time and give yourself some advice, back when you were all the way as an undergrad, or maybe not that long ago, but back when you were an undergrad, what would you tell yourself?
Oh, it was long for me when I was an undergrad, but I probably, when I went to school, I told everybody I had a business degree, and I, if I was myself then, I would have been just pushing myself, because there was an IT, I was thinking about going the IT STEM route, but I would talk myself out of it. I'm like, too hard. And now that's really how the world is, right? So I think if I had to go back, I would say take more chances and have more confidence in what, my ability was.
Yeah, I would go back to my old self and say, have that confidence. And, the one thing that I am going with every day when I wake up, you can do it.
When I look back, I think one thing that I didn't realize that was so important from a career perspective is networking. Keeping in contact with the folks that you go to school with, for your first, second, or third job, keeping in contact with the people that you're working with, because you never know when you're going to need to reach out to them, either for career advice, maybe open opportunities. So invaluable to be able to make sure you have those contacts, you know who those are, and keep that relationship going with folks that you feel are important to keep those relationships with. You can't have a relationship with everyone, but for the ones that you think, you know, from a career perspective or even personal perspective that you want to stay in contact with, thankfully, we have LinkedIn now, whereas when I started out my career, there was no such thing as LinkedIn. But it's very valuable to be able to keep those relationships going.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, and I'm a huge person who will tell you all the time, advocate for yourself. When you're going at your first job and someone says, oh, you're going to make, you know, $10, you know, a year for this. Yeah, just ask for 30. Women don't do it enough. So that would be my advice if I was going back to, you know, from when I got my first job. I was like, super, this is a total chunk of change, and that's way more than I've ever had in college. I should have just asked for double, you know, ask for what you're worth.
Another great piece of advice there for sure. We are pretty much up at time here, so thank you so much to all of our presenters for all of your, you know, wisdom and knowledge and info that you shared with us today. I feel like we've all learned a lot. The application QR code is still up there today. I believe this session is being recorded, so it will be shared out to review afterwards if that's something that you want to do. And we'll kick it back to Brandon to wrap things up.
Alrighty, thank you all so much for joining. As Samantha mentioned, you're more than welcome to check out their roles on their company profile. The link's in the chat. And yeah, thank you so much for joining again, and have a great rest of your evening or day.